From Andrew Nembhard and Shaedon Sharpe missing out on the All-Rookie team, to Ja Morant not making any All-NBA team, these are the biggest snubs from the 2023 All-NBA teams. Getting things started are the two major snubs from the All-Rookie team, both Shaedon Sharpe and Andrew Nembhard. Okay, it's understandable that this year's rookie class was extraordinary, and someone else might have missed out on it if Chet Holmgren hadn't gotten injured. Maybe they should just increase the number of rookies getting the honors, because missing out after performing the way these players performed must be heartbreaking. Just look at how good Nembhard was all season long. Who can possibly forget his mad buzzer beater against the Lakers? It was pure class. The fella even had a big moment for the Pacers, yet couldn't get into the All-NBA side. He averaged almost 10 points per game, playing well under 30 minutes per contest, and towards the end of the season, he caught fire. Nembhard was scoring over 15 points per game for the final 10 games of the season, and the only difference was that his playing time had been increased to 30 minutes. The shooting guard also showcased his creative side, averaging 4.5 assists per contest, but again, that number increased big time toward the end of the season. Of course, playing with Tyrese Halliburton, an assist-making machine, wouldn't have helped his cause, but his numbers shot up big time in the final few games of the season. Nearly 10 assists per game in the final 6 outings is seriously impressive. Somehow, the voters decided to not include him in the All-NBA teams, which is a terrible decision. Just like the Shaedon Sharpe exclusion, another player who caught fire toward the end of the season, Shaedon Sharpe was the biggest beneficiary of the Portland Trail Blazers resting their big guns. The way the Canadian played in the final 10 games of the season, he should have been a starter for the Blazers. In the final 11 games, Sharpe played at least 24 minutes for Portland, and he was unstoppable. He scored a game-high 30 points against the Kings before dropping 27 against the same opposition a few days later. Over the final 11 games where he was finally getting proper minutes, Sharpe averaged over 21 points. That's truly magnificent for someone in their first year. I can't wait to see him explode next season. It's clear that the mainstream media hasn't seen the best of Sharpe, and I'll be there when he finally gets the recognition he deserves. Still though, he's a big miss, but there are even bigger snubs when you look at the All-NBA defensive team, like Marcus Smart. Last year's Defensive Player of the Year not getting the nod is absurd. The Celtics weren't even as disastrous as some people are making it out to be. Yeah, they should have been the first seed, but the Milwaukee Bucks aren't a joke. Still, Smart was one of the most impressive players throughout the season for the Celtics, and not including him is something that I just can't understand. To think that he didn't even make the second team. For many analysts, he deserved to get in ahead of OG Anunoby for the second team at the very least, and I agree. I think he did enough, and as good as Anunoby was, his contributions didn't exactly help the Toronto Raptors finish in the playoffs, right? Smart is easily the second best perimeter defender in the entire league. Yeah, Drew Holiday is definitely the best one, but Smart isn't too far behind. So if Drew's making the first team, Smart should have been on the second, again, at the very least. You can say the same about Jaden McDaniels and Nick Claxton as well. Sure, the Timberwolves didn't finish where they should have, and punching the wall wasn't a great idea by McDaniels in his final game of the season, but he was easily the best defender for Minnesota. To many, McDaniels outplayed Rudy Gobert in terms of defense, and the way he applied the locks on LeBron James in that game, it was a thing of beauty. The Timberwolves could have finished as the 7th seed ahead of the Lakers if Jaden was fit, and if a player is making that much of a difference, he deserves to make the cut. I love Alex Caruso, and he's a menace when it comes to defending. This year, though, it feels that Caruso got in based on his reputation, because there's no way he was better than McDaniels, who actually played a career-high 79 games and was given the task of defending the opposition's best player. As far as defensive centers are concerned, I'm in disbelief that Nick Claxton didn't get the nod either. Put aside Giannis and Anthony Davis for a second. Who else comes to mind when it comes to rim protection? Claxton was a revelation for the Brooklyn Nets in a weird season. His performances were the reason that Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant could do whatever they wanted. And while in the second part of the campaign, the Nets didn't completely falter and held on for a playoff spot. But even ahead of Claxton, there are 2 snubs on the all-defensive team that could end up being one of the biggest ones in history: Giannis Antetokounmpo and Anthony Davis. Are you seriously telling me that the talisman of the Milwaukee Bucks, the best team in the regular season in both conferences, didn't deserve to be in the NBA's all-defensive team? I understand that Jaren Jackson Jr. was a worthy winner of the Defensive Player of the Year award, but are you telling me that Giannis didn't do more than the likes of Derek White, Anunoby, Dylan Brooks, and Bam Adebayo? It's a lie. Or was it because the voters thought 3 players from the Bucks would be one too many? That's just unfair. All 3 would have been worthy inclusions because Jrue Holiday and Brook Lopez definitely earned their selection. But so should have Giannis as well, and the same goes for Anthony Davis. The only saving grace in AD's case is the number of games he played, and considering he didn't scratch 60, it makes sense to not put him in. But the NBA needs to impose an official rule regarding this. Otherwise, in terms of impact alone, one could easily argue that AD did enough to make the All-NBA team. If anything, he's made the voters eat their words after his performances in the postseason, that too against the Defensive Player of the Year, Jaren Jackson Jr. AD not making the final list in the absence of a rule is a complete joke, because he shouldn't only be on the All-Defensive team, he deserved a spot on the All-NBA team. Again, as long as there isn't a minimum number of games required to make the list, I'll agree with the majority of fans and analysts that Davis deserved to make the All-NBA team, especially when you consider that LeBron James got his 19th selection, but for some reason AD didn't. He's arguably been the best Lakers player this season, and he played a game more than LeBron. So if LeBron's there, AD should have been there too, because he was definitely better than Julius Randle at the very least. But the All-NBA teams had some other big-time snubs too. Somehow the NBA's most improved player failed to make the cut. What more could Lauri Markkanen have done to get that All-NBA selection? He was efficient in terms of shooting, averaging nearly 40% from beyond the arc and 50% from the field. He helped keep the Utah Jazz in contention for the majority of the campaign in the Wild Wild West. He had the best season of his life, and now Markkanen's off to compulsory military duty too. The least he deserved was more recognition for a wonderful season. The Jazz's late season drop-off may have contributed to his exclusion though, but he was very much deserving of a spot. At least, the season's not a total write-off for him. He got the Most Improved Player award and became an All-Star for the first time as well. It easily could have been and should have been more. Just like Ja Morant should have been on the All-NBA team too. Look, I'm not saying that what Morant's been up to is justified. All I'm saying is, for these decisions, you've got to consider what happens on the court rather than off it. He averaged over 26 points, nearly 6 rebounds, and well over 8 assists, and he helped his team finish second in a very competitive West. In what world is that not worthy of an All-NBA selection? It's a decision that'll probably sting the young guard a lot too, because it cost him around $39 million a year, since his rookie extension deal would have ballooned up to $233 million. But now it'll stay below the $200 million mark. Costly. More importantly, I think the Grizzlies have been hard done by the entire mainstream media. How's a team finishing second in the West? Not worthy to have a single player on any of the All-NBA teams? I think Ja at least had done enough to get on one of those 3 teams, particularly when you look at where the Portland Trail Blazers finished. Either the NBA needs to be clear about the right criteria that goes into the voting, or they need to allow more players to make the team. Otherwise, it's just unfair. So from the exclusion of Shaedon Sharpe and Andrew Nembhard from the All-Rookie team, to Ja Morant missing out on the All-NBA teams altogether, these were the biggest snubs from the All-NBA teams.